Welcome to my channel. This is Camson, the Untamed Oracle, and I'm going to be telling you some of the key points about this full moon, which is also a lunar eclipse. So this is a super full moon, a super moon in Libra, according to Western astrology. So I'm going to go over some really key points, and I think that this is going to give you some aha moments that you have been hoping for. So this particular full moon, this lunar eclipse energy, it is urging us to be more aware of the romantic programming we subconsciously try to seek or experience, whether you're single or not. We all have these ideas in our mind of how things should be. And oftentimes that programming comes from our upbringing, our culture, what's acceptable, what's considered normal, what was considered shameful or bad, what religion maybe said was, something that was sinful. And so all of these different things created what we value about relationships. And a lot of it may be based in the old 3D earth of illusion and fantasy. So it is empowering us to reject relationships that do not feel authentic to the inner self, not to the false self avatar that trauma and conditioning created for us to navigate this world. We're learning how to embrace what resonates with our heart versus our ego. And the ego is the mind. The ego is the mind in motion, trying to protect you, make you look good, keep you from looking bad. And that's not, a reason to demonize the ego. The ego is really useful. And without the ego, how would we navigate this crazy, chaotic world, right? The physicality of the world. So I'm going to get into some more of that. So some more key things is for you to trust the messages that you are receiving right now about the authenticity and the depth of your connections. Like, are you truly being yourself in your relationships, or are you playing a role? Finding your person is something that doesn't happen until you find yourself, your true self. A relationship where you can be your true self without fear or having to compromise aspects of who you are. Whether you are single, in a relationship, or you're just kind of in a complicated mess and you're really not sure what to call it, it don't matter which one it is. Use this energy to figure out, how am I connecting? Am I attracting people that are revealing my shadow to me, and maybe it's been too difficult to see, right? Just ask these questions, because lunar eclipse, that's emotional, lunar energy, it's feminine energy, and it's eclipsing with the masculine energy. So it's helping us to give structure to some of these things that subconsciously run our life. And we are doing everything that we can to be better self-masters over ourselves, but your life just not doing the math that equals to the work that it seems like you've been doing. And oftentimes it's the subconscious that has not received the focus that is necessary. Okay. Now, these intense emotions that we are going to be feeling, and I'm probably already feeling, I'm recording this like within hours of this eclipse. So I woke up feeling this. You might feel overwhelmed. You might have strange sleep patterns. Maybe irrational fear is surfacing. Any hidden aspects of yourself or your surroundings are being brought to light. If you are content with the intentions that you set previously during the last new moon, and I recommend anyone who is learning to be a master of their own self, creator of their own reality, Set intentions with the new moon when the sky is dark, which is very open for planting intentions. Just like the darkness of soul, plant your seed. And hold that vibration for 2 weeks, and then see what happens when the full moon comes. This is a really good way to tune the cycles of a lot of the emotional healing that we're doing with the moon. Now, if you are feeling content, and you're like, I feel okay, I feel great about the work that I have been doing on myself, and I feel like I'm about to see some of the harvest of that. Bask in that joy. Take time to give gratitude. Make your gratitude list. Like, what are you gangster grateful for? You know, you want to invest energy into things that are supportive of you. If you've been holding back or hiding your true feelings, this full moon is going to urge you to be more open and vulnerable. It is okay to admit that you want to find a soulmate, or maybe that you need to set some boundaries, or maybe you need to walk away from unhealthy relationships. Just be kind to yourself in the process of considering these changes. Don't be overly critical, and trust in your intuition. Prioritize your own well-being during this transformative time, because this full moon lunar eclipse will be impacting us for the next 6 months. So how do you want to feel in the next 6 months? You want to feel compassionate to yourself. If you want to feel like you're confident about making mistakes because you know how to soothe yourself, you know how to dust yourself off and get back up again, well, you start doing that right now. And I feel like a lot of us have been having a difficult time trusting our intuition, because lately the energy has been all over the place. I mean, Pisces, 2 fish swimming in 2 different directions. So I think a lot of us been feeling one way one minute, another way the next minute. Some of us may have wanted to break up 1 minute, and the next minute you're like, we can't break up right now. We got too many responsibilities that need to be, dealt with first. Or maybe you want to get in a relationship and you're just like, maybe I'm not ready. This eclipse is definitely a time of reflection. Okay. Now, during this full moon phase, your self-criticism and your sensitivity to outside judgments is probably going to be heightened. So take time out to reflect on your past intentions. What steps can you take practically to bring them to fruition, despite the emotional waves that we will be feeling? This could involve addressing relationship issues, finding a healthy way to do so, or just delving deeper into your own inner desires, especially those that we keep secret. Those that we don't communicate because we're unsure of how our person is going to take them. This is a good time to reflect on that and get clear. It is important to prioritize authentic and deep connections with others and with yourself. Use this time to ensure that you feel content and liberated, whether you are in a relationship romantically or not. Embrace your autonomy. Begin to break free from constantly prioritizing others over yourself. Mamas, I'm talking to you. I know when we became mamas, a lot of us got lost in that role. Remember about playing the roles? And a lot of us don't have hobbies. We don't know what we love to do. We don't have that much me time. Some of us might be single mamas, and you're kind of having to fill the role of dad and mama. That's a lot. So, one simple thing that you can start doing to start regathering the remnants of yourself is to take time, even if it's just 10 to 15 minutes. Set it in your phone for that 10 to 15 minutes to do something just for you. It could be a snack maybe that you want to have or make for yourself, something special. Making a smoothie, just loving on yourself, like from the inside out, right? It could be going to your altar, maybe cleaning your altar off, dusting your altar, rearranging some things, maybe freshening your offerings. These are some things that don't take a whole lot of time that you could do. And these are just a couple ideas from what I do in my day-to-day routines. And this will help you to prioritize yourself without having to completely abandon your responsibilities. So I get it. And when I started talking about the soft life being that point of my focus that has been really healing for me in ways, I'm going to be talking about it more, but there was so many things I was trying to accomplish that just wasn't happening until I started using these soft life innovative ways to approach my day. But by me slowing down and asking myself, is this something I absolutely need to do right now, or can it wait? I'm able to prioritize myself more. And another thing, avoiding confrontation for the sake of harmony. This is a key thing with a lot of people who resonate with me in my journey. Harmony is important, but not at the risk of you losing your own sanity. Not at the cost of your well-being. Sometimes harmony is actually a burden because you will find yourself trying to be the peacekeeper all the time. And the downside to that is whoever you're dealing with was trying to keep peace, they never get to see themselves behave in these shadow ways because you're protecting, you're trying to predict their needs, how they're going to behave before they do, and you're doing everything that you can to, avoid certain confrontations and things happening. So a lot of times they think that they're okay because they don't see all the invisible work that you do to keep peace. So when you stop doing that, there may be some breakdowns and some meltdowns and some conflict, but this is a necessary part of healing from people-pleasing and codependency. And for so many of us, especially women, like the number one thing that we need and yearn for is safety. So we became people pleasers and codependents, hoping to create safety. But we've been doing it at the expense of our own well-being. This full moon lunar eclipse is saying no to that. So I'm going to talk about some ways that you can keep peace without being self-sacrificing, to be able to take better care of yourself. Maybe if there's a confrontation, you could use the R team that I've talked about and I'm going to be giving more information about. But the R team is the first thing, which is to remove yourself from the confrontation. You don't have to explain. Over-explaining is another one of those codependent, people-pleasing things that come up. And I know it come up for me so quick where I'm just observing myself and I'm disgusted and I'm just wondering, why am I giving so much energy to explain this? This person is triggered right now. I'm triggered and it's just not going to land. So you will be able to pull yourself away from over-explaining. Remove yourself and just say, I need a moment. Remove yourself. That's the first R. And the next R is to regulate, right? What do you do to regulate? For me, working with the goddesses Working with my ancestors, my spirit guides, that's my number one way to regulate. So what do you do to regulate? Do that. If you don't have a routine to help you regulate, consider booking a reading with me, and I will help you create a routine to help you regulate. These are some of the things that you could try to get regulated. But that's one of the things that I do to regulate. The next R is to reframe the situation. Use a positive reframe. So an example could be, maybe you were supposed to do something and you never got around to it. And the other person is kind of complaining about it. And you get triggered. Because you're tired, you haven't been feeling well, you had a lot of other things to do, and you don't have help. So reframe it. Okay, they're triggered because I didn't get this thing done that I said that I would do. I'm triggered because I really have more on my plate than I can handle. Well, a positive reframe is, this is a moment that's showing me that I say yes to too many things, and I maybe have been operating in superwoman syndrome, and it's time for me to address that so that I don't begin to destroy my health. And people expect me to do more than I'm really capable of. That's a positive reframe. And after you reframe it, you can return to the conversation when you feel ready, provided that they are ready and they are regulated. They have had some time to calm down. And then you can work through it to get to a resolution. The next R. Okay? So I'm going to be teaching more of this in my 8 years of being in a sacred union where we both had levels of trauma that wasn't uncovered until we got together. Yeah, I've learned so much, and I'm going to be very soon revealing something that has been so transformational for us. So yeah, stay tuned. Stay tuned. Just a little tease, a little plug, but I'm telling you, if you're listening to me now, this is definitely something you want to tap into. Because 8-9 years is a long time for our generation. The previous generations make it 20-30 years and we would just be so blown away. But if we can make it to 5, statistics say, you're part of the few. So, okay. Now, you want to make sure that your wholeness is being fully experienced. Maybe you need to inspect, what are you doing, and is it making you feel whole or is it making you feel broken? Regardless of your relationship status. If the past weeks have been positive since the new moon, you might be experiencing a sense of higher self-worth. And maybe even deepening your connections with people because your heart feels open to expand. Your compassion and empathy may be amplified and more pronounced because this is definitely triggering us to be more sensitive. Now, if you're an empath, which is someone who absorbs other people's emotional energy, oftentimes unknowingly, this is the time for boundaries. And this is the time for spending time alone. This is the time for spiritual baths. This is the time for doing your benzoin or your Palo Santo or your sage and just clearing out the energy within the room. Getting some body work to help release energy. These are some things that you can be doing as an empath, because I find lunar eclipses to be really overwhelming for me as an empath. And being a recovering codependent on top of that, and someone who is hypervigilant and also an Akashic record reader, because I'm of the oracle bloodline, I am hyper attuned to everybody's needs. And I know what people need before they know that they need it. And I oftentimes meet the need before they are aware that the need needs to be met. And this was my system of safety since I was a child. To meet people's needs, meet them where they are, fix things, save people, and I'm safe. But that has created so much difficulty with my health, with my life, my mental health, my ability to be consistent. You know, if you're always attuned to other people's needs, it's going to be hard to be consistent in meeting your own. So I'm speaking from experience. Now, in the midst of enjoying your relationships, if that's you and you're feeling pretty content, be mindful of potential challenges because of the heightened sensitivity. It won't just be you. If it's not you, people around you are going to be hypersensitive. The unrealistic ideas that I talk about, some of those illusions may get blasted open. Lack of boundaries, areas where you overgive, and codependency. Things haven't been going well lately. Focus on self-love, seeking that higher love, that higher ground to overcome self-judgment and external pressures. The current full moon and eclipse may also be bringing in more ability to acknowledge the shadow. You know, allow yourself to feel the emotions, because I find that the shadow self is an emotional conduit, and it conduits the emotions that we sometimes have not faced, and the purpose is for us to see that we can do it. So feel those emotions. Take some slow, deep breaths. Journal. For those of you who bought your leather engraved dream journal with the dream catcher on it that we sell on our website, if it's dusty, crack it open. You know, parchment paper, and the way that journal is created is very spiritual within itself. So crack that journal open and let those feelings take form so that they don't circulate in your physical body, causing all types of chaos and wreaking havoc, increasing your cortisol levels, your stress hormones. Like, that's the last thing that we need right now. And be honest. If the emotion feels ugly, if it feels like it's full of rage, if you feel like you just fucking hate everything and you just over everybody, honor that. This is not a time to dismiss your own emotions, because this is self-betrayal. Honor that. Get it out. Bring it to form so that it's not circulating within you. And if you don't have the special journal, just a piece of paper will do. Some of us write in our notes within our devices. That's fine too. But just make sure that you get it out of you. Allow yourself to feel it and release it. Because in this energy, things that we use to escape, especially like substances, overeating, things like that, this is not the time to do that. I would actually recommend, and a lot of us eat light as possible, because eating heavy, dense foods during this time usually creates more emotional uproar. So, you know, try to eat light if you can, you know, and just be aware of this. This is something that I use to help when me and my person have difficult times in our relationship, where it seems like it's accumulating and it's moving from one day to the next to the next. I fast from sunrise to sunset. I eat light. I might just do juice, water, smoothies, and this has been really helpful. It is a great way to regulate your emotions. It's a great way to pull yourself away from the habit of emotional eating, because, honey, let me tell you, I am a foodie. I love food, and sensuality through taste is like one of the things that I do to soothe myself, but sometimes it can tip over into overindulgence. And this is not good for the emotions. It takes a lot of energy to digest those heavy meals. So if you got the itis and you're trying to deal with some emotional stuff and everybody around you hypersensitive, you can just imagine the types of energy you're going to be throwing around the house or wherever you are. So yeah, keep that in mind. Just another key point that I wanted to highlight for you. Now, taking breaks, this is helpful. Sometimes if I'm doing something, even cooking, once the meal is complete, I need to take a break, and I need to go sit down, and I need to go and just allow myself to be rejuvenated and refreshed. Take breaks. Even if it's just like 5 or 10 minutes, take breaks. This is going to help you to not get overwhelmed. Stay mindful of not letting external judgments, like the collective energy of judgment right now is going to be like through the roof. And we're going to see it a lot. You're going to see it on feeds and in comments, and people just being really polarizing. You want to not participate in that, and even your own judgments. Oftentimes, if we're judgmental of people around us, it's because we're judgmental towards ourselves. And as uncomfortable as it is for me to say that out loud, it is very empowering to accept the fact that when I am being judgmental, it is a reflection of how I have been judging myself. So these are some things that you can just challenge yourself. Like, can I not judge anything? Right? Inside and outside. Can I just curiously observe and not get emotionally attached? Because judgment is being emotionally attached to something that you feel should not be or should be. And that's toxic, to have that happening to you over and over again. So focus on nurturing yourself with this heightened sense of emotions, with self-love, and building up your resilience. This is a good time to practice resilience. If people around you are being hypersensitive, maybe you're grounded and you see it, this is a good time for you to say, okay, let me build up my mental and emotional resilience. Can I be around people who are exhibiting these extremes because maybe they aren't doing the work? Because this eclipse is definitely gonna make it really clear to see who's doing the work, the soul work, the healing journey, the spiritual awakening, reconnecting to spirit, working with the divine in your day-to-day life. Like, if you're doing this, if you're listening to me, you're obviously drawn to this information. So you're going to have a different experience. This eclipse is another portal. And I know we went through many before. Y'all have heard me say this, but this is another portal. And you can step into a higher dimensional frequency just simply by the way that you are treating yourself and the way you respond and what you refrain from participating in. Opt out of confusion, opt into optimism, and trust that the work that you have been doing, even if you haven't been consistent, I know, I hear you. You're just like, yeah, but I haven't been as consistent as I would like to be. Me neither. You're not going to have the exact same level of productivity every day, right? That's a judgment to even expect ourselves to be able to do that. But just do the best that you can. Give it your all and rest. Take a break. Sometimes because we feel like we haven't been consistent, when we do decide to tap into a ritual or a ceremony or take some time out to feed our ancestors and petition or whatever it may be that you do, sometimes we go overboard because we're coming from that space of the fear of not doing. And this is the ego always wanting to do. The ego is not the part of us that is comfortable being. The ego is only comfortable when it is doing something. And for those of us who are codependent, our ego is only really comfortable when we're doing something for others that will make us feel safe or valuable or better about ourselves. So these are just some things to keep an eye on. So you're going to feel that vulnerability. You're not going to feel as guarded as maybe you are used to feeling. Balance out the desire for social engagement with time to be introspective. Okay? don't lean too much into either. This is full moon in Libra. It's all about finding some balance. Especially if you are someone who is discovering that you developed codependency tendencies throughout your life. This is more so a time to not hang out with everybody and, going to meet up with people and lunch and brunch and this. Maybe this is a time to prioritize your boundaries, to see, like, am I using boundaries? Where do I need boundaries? And you only find that when you spend time with yourself. When you stop saying yes to every invitation and just spend time with yourself. Now, if you maintain healthy boundaries, on the other hand, you can differentiate, your emotions from others pretty well. Again, because codependents and some empaths who have some of that codependency, it's hard for us to differentiate our emotions from other people's emotions. But if that's not you, then connecting with friends and people and even the universe, on a heartfelt level, could be something that is really fulfilling for you right now. But even if you feel compelled to help others and meet people's demands, just remember that your own needs and sensitivities are equally important. And we may have people reaching out to us like, I need your help. I need you to do this. This eclipse does this, especially to people who are unconscious about these things and not paying attention to, their spiritual self. So just focus on what you need, taking care of yourself before others. And now we're going to get to some of the do's and don'ts. During this time, if people have negative emotions about you, and even if they have kept it secret and not communicated it, energetically you're probably going to pick up on it. It might become obvious. During a lunar eclipse, with this heightened energy from the full moon, the whole meaning around the evil eye, it's not so much so just about people who actually do practice dark magic arts, but it's so much so about people who swim in negativity, feed off of drama, people who are difficult, people who don't respect boundaries, people who get upset if you enforce a boundary, people who have more toxic tendencies than not. These are people that you want to put some space between you and them. Because during this time, it's likely that a lot of people full of this energy, with it being heightened, is going to be amplified and it's going to spill out. And it could be blame, it could be drama, it could be shaming, it could be criticizing. You want to create some space between you and them. It's going to be a whole lot of evil eye energy being thrown around during this time. So you want to limit who can be close to you at this time. You might want to screen your phone calls, This is self-love. This is self-protection. This is self-care. And this creates more self-trust, which is what is one of the main things to help you trust your intuition. Okay? So if your intuition is telling you to avoid somebody, listen. Don't ignore it. If somebody's showing you some true colors, believe it. Okay? Another thing, because I know a lot of people in the spiritual community, when you become more privy to this information and more aware, sometimes you become hyper aware. Everybody you can't physically get away from, but you can energetically put space between you and them. So for those of you who can't physically get away from certain people who operate in certain levels of unconsciousness that is negative, pessimistic, and not helpful, keep your business to yourself. Take care of you the best that you can. Use the tools that we provide. If you haven't been to our store in a while, check out our spiritual shop. Go ahead and put some stuff in the cart that you can use. Using smoke to cleanse is really helpful. This even helps people who operate in unawareness. It can be calming and grounding for people who are completely unaware. And it's just incense, it's resin, right? So these are some non-aggressive, kind of under the radar things that you can do to create peace and harmony without being codependent and people pleasing. Also using your journal to get shit out. You got to get shit out, because what you ruminate about is what you will create in your reality. So if you are ruminating about that thing that somebody said to you and you're triggered and you keep thinking about it and it keeps coming back to you, even if you're trying to forget about it, you need to give form to that thought form and get it out of you, because it's living up in you and it ain't rent free. It's costing you something. It's costing you your health and your well-being, and this is something that can delay the manifestations that you are working on. So get it out. Using your crystals. I feel like a lot of us believe in crystals. When we see them, we, feel excited about them, and then we buy them, and then we do nothing with them. Or the love for them seems to dwindle. This heightened sensitivity is a great time for you to pick your crystals up, use your crystals, tune back into them, clean them off, speak to them, sing to them. Use them in your petition. You take a spiritual bath. Make sure that it is safe to be used in water, and put it in your water. Charge it with a crystal grid around the water that you're drinking with positive intentions of whatever it is that you desire to create in your reality. If that's enforcing boundaries, using black crystals to help enforce boundaries. Keep one in your pocket. I stick one in my bra. Put one under my pillow so that I'm cleansing and protecting my mind while I'm sleeping from negative thoughts. These are all ideas that I'm just throwing out there, and I have master classes about all of this on my Patreon, which you can get for just $1. All you got to do is head over there, and if $1 is all that you have to donate, that is fine. I have provided over 300 posts on Patreon for you to go through with so much information, things that I cannot say here. So that's there for you. With Patreon and the spiritual shop, you should be able to create a routine for yourself. Because if you are trying to use your mind and your willpower to accomplish what I have discussed in this video, then you are going to burn yourself out. You are not working with the spiritual tools to assist you, or the ancient spiritual practices, and I use many of them, and I do innovate them, because I know we don't have as much time as we used to. We can't really sit down and do a 3-day ceremony. In the modern world is so different. So I create things knowing that time is moving faster and more limited for a lot of us. You must rely on spiritual practices alongside of whatever you're doing to have self-mastery and to heal. And I spoke about this in a recent post on Patrick's channel. I love his channel. He talks about trauma, and he's an expert in this area. And I talked about this on a post, and I was saying that for many years, therapy and medication was my go-to. And then religion was mixed in there, was a go-to. And I've done so much work that I got to a point where things that used to help me weren't helping me anymore. Or the help was minimal. And what I was missing was the connection to my soul. That discontentment, that feeling of I need to be in a relationship to feel whole. I want to come home to somebody. I don't want to have to go grocery shopping by myself all the time. There's so much happening in the world. I don't be feeling safe, and I didn't have a son, and so sometimes you got a son, you're a single mama, your son can make you feel a little bit more safe, and you're not by yourself, and there's two sets of eyes. But, so it was so many reasons that a relationship for me was something I was hoping would provide this infinite amount of safety, and it actually did the opposite. It showed me all of the cracks in my foundation of myself. And so I was needing more than therapy. I was needing more than the DBT skills that I was taught. I was needing more than a lot of the CBT, the coping strategies that I was taught, cognitive behavioral therapy, medication, like I did it all. And I started getting some more of the energy and Reiki, reflexology, acupuncture. I do all of this as a content creator with the desire to help people overcome some of the challenging things we experience when life starts lifing. I must live what I am teaching. And in doing these things, what I have discovered is taking the time, even if it's just 5 to 10 minutes a day, to connect with my body, to stretch, to qigong shake after I've had a disagreement with somebody and cortisol is just rushing through my body, to shake it off, literally, to scream in my pillow, to go to my altar, talk to the goddesses that I work closely with, and so many of them showed up in my life at some of the most difficult times in the most amazing ways. If you want to hear about that, just scroll through my YouTube channel. I got about 1,000 videos here for you to look through. And a lot of times I don't put the title as what happened, so just start binge watching stuff, because I have so many experiences that are beyond what my mind can conceive and make sense of. Oftentimes I'm just talking and channeling, and the experience that supports what I'm talking about comes up, and I don't know what's going to come up. But working with them, it allows me to have an archetypal energy, which creates structure, which gives me an idea of the energy that I would like to move into. So a great example would be Kuan Yin, which is a goddess of compassion. And if I'm wanting to move into more compassion because I'm noticing myself being overly critical towards myself, by saying her image, there is so much power in images. Pictures are worth 1,000 words, right? So it's not much that needs to be said. And my brain, all of the functions within my body through the visual is helping me to reconnect, to connect circuitry that's going to allow me to connect with the neurology of compassion. Like, this is really metaphysical. And then I start to speak to her. I'm like, look, I know you're a statue. That's how you look to me. I'm in this 3D world, and I'm really desiring to connect with the spirit realm that's beyond this 3D. Is there anything that you could offer to me to help me? I'm opening my heart to receive that guidance. Even if it's just a picture that you print out, that's okay. It don't have to be a statue. Help me to have compassion. Kuan Yin, I don't know what I'm doing. Compassion is not the thing that I have been great at giving myself, but I became an expert in giving it to everybody else. I open my heart to receive. I light my incense, usually something that smells sweet. Benzoin is my new favorite. If you haven't heard me talk about it, I'm going to keep talking about it until everybody that listens to me has some. This helps with anxiety, and it helps you to get grounded as well. So it's like a trifecta, and you're getting so many things accomplished in just those 2 simple steps. 5 minutes, tops. We got 5 minutes, right? And so many times I bypass the power of the simplicity within that ceremony with her, and because it was just 5 minutes, and so my egoic, logical mind would say it was just 5 minutes. You're just talking to a statue. Nothing is going to happen. And throughout the rest of that day, everything that I'm witnessing is speaking to me. It's so beautiful that I have lived through so much, and that I can share this with you all from experience, from trial and error. And being that I am a manifesting generator in human design, frustration is my not self thing. When I'm not connected to my authentic self, I get frustrated, I get angry, and it leads me to manifest the complete opposite solutions. And so beautiful. Now I can be angry, I can be frustrated, and not feel stuck like I'm going to be feeling that way forever, and know that this is my process. This is my divine being in process. Everybody's process is different, depending on your human design type. So I can go on and on, but I'm not. I think that I gave so many jewels and gems, and I hope that you enjoyed this. I wanted to do something extra special for this special event. So yes, take heed. Wear your evil eye bracelets, your earrings, your necklaces, you know. Let those things be more than something that you're wearing. Let your energy be the embodiment of. I'm not opting into evil eye energy. I'm not throwing negative energy around, and I'm not going to allow myself to accept it from anybody else. And for the next 2 weeks, try to stay away from arguments if you can. Find more healthy ways to deal with confrontation and conflict, because people are going to be edgy. I mean, to the point where you're going to be like, am I the only one sane? And that's pretty insane, because I know a lot of us on this journey have these periods of insanity, and that's part of the spiritual awakening. You're questioning everything. But, you know, not to judge people, but just knowing, like, I've had some insane moments. And maybe I'm seeing some of the people around me, and it's a reminder to devote myself to what I'm doing so that I have less of those. When we see people act out in ways that we no longer want a part of, it helps us to know what we do want to be. Alright, I'm going to put all the links in the description. Check out the Patreon. Check out the store, our spiritual shop. So special to me. It's from me and Earnest Heart to y'all. Namaste, namaste. Peace, one love. Ashe.